To another episode of Two Coaches, One Conversation. I'm Coach Sheldon.
I'm Coach Will.
And we back again to give you another video, some content, basically helping you out with some more youth sport type of situations. We don't want to relegate it to one sport, so we kind of make it a broad topic. Once again, these are our opinions and things that we would come up with to give you more information about some things that you may have wanted to ask, but just didn't know the right way to ask and get the question answered for you. So we want to start today. I came to Coach Will a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, let's do a topic over NCAA versus, not necessarily versus, but the differences between NCAA and NAIA sports. And because when you think about those sports and you think about basketball or any other D1 athletic, most people think of the big name, the big power programs.
Right.
And they're not necessarily aware that there are other options out there that can be just as great or just competitive and still get you the same outcome when you're looking to play sports on another level. So he kind of laughed and chuckled at me. He was like, this is going to take about 2 weeks to come together. So here we are now on our 2 weeks. We want to give y'all something. I know everybody's probably stuck inside the house right now, going stir crazy. So we want to give you a little bit of content. So yeah, we want to kick it off. So we want to go over NAIA first, because NCAA has a little more broad topic, and we want to keep y'all on track of what's going on. So go ahead, Coach, give us a little bit of background on that thing there for us.
All right, NAIA sports used to consist of two divisions. They went from D1 and D2 to one division, which is D1, NAIA D1. It's kind of backwards to me why they did it, but they did it.
Right.
The whole thing is when they went from two divisions to one, they go from 11 scholarships to 8 scholarships. But the whole thing about NAIA is just as competitive. As D1, D2, D3.
Yes.
And what happens is a lot of kids go to the NCAA, but then they end up transferring to NAIA. So, NAIA school has 250 member schools, 23 sports.
Yes.
60,000, something like that.
Yeah, 60,000 students. Yeah.
And the dollar amount of scholarship is $450 million that they give out. So a lot of people don't know that.
Yes.
The requirements for NAIA is you have to register with the NAIA clearinghouse, but you only have to have, and I say only because some people struggle in school or whatever, but then when they get to college, some pick up. It's not many, but the requirements to get in is 2.0 GPA.
Okay.
You have to have either 860 or 860 on the SAT or 18 on the ACT.
Okay.
But also the other two requirements is you have to be in the top 50% of your class.
Okay.
Or you have to have either one of those scores.
Okay. So talk about how the money breaks down and spell some of the rumors that you can only go play college sports if you get a full ride scholarship.
That's false, because whether you're talking about NCAA or you're talking about NAIA or you're talking about JUCO, there are full scholarships and there are partial scholarships. But with NAIA, they also have the work study program, academic money,
yes.
And depending on what year you in, either you get more or less scholarship money.
Okay. Now we've sent a lot of players to that division, and they've thrived really well. Is it because it's a smaller setting, or is it just that it's just competitive and they just up their game?
It's both, actually. It's a smaller setting as far as like the campuses go, but the level of competition. I mean, these are high school athletes that's transitioning to college. So, like, some chose not to go the NCAA route.
Right.
And that's how they ended up there. Most of the time, I'm trying not to laugh because my dog trying to come into the frame. But it's just as competitive.
Yes.
Like, if you hadn't been to an NAIA game, you need to go. You need to make it once Corona season's over.
Right, of course. Now, talk about your differences. Now, you've spoken with large Power 5 school coaches, and you've spoken with coaches on the NAIA level. So, what is their mindset, and what are some of the things that they've looked for in their players that fit their program?
When you talk about the major D1 schools, the Power 5 conferences, I'm not being funny. It's a business. You're there. They're gonna recruit you. They're gonna love you during the recruiting process. But you're there to put people in the seats.
Correct.
You're there to perform 80 hours
Right.
of whatever the program needs. That's practice, film watching, weight training, community service. That's what you're there for. Another difference is between NAIA and the big schools. A lot of times you get to pick your major at NAIA. And some people gonna come back at me and be like, no, that's not true. But every athlete and every coach knows that has talked to the big schools. You don't necessarily get to pick your major.
Right.
Because of scheduling conflicts, the workload of the classes. So they already have you locked in when you're talking about going D1, NCAA. So your kid may want to go in nursing. They're gonna tell you you're gonna be a communication major, which we'll get into
later. A little bit later, yeah. And I know we're gonna get into this topic later. If you're thinking in terms of NAIA and maybe a HBCU, okay. Now HBCU normally would fall up under the D1 category in some instances, sometimes D2 under NCAA. Do you feel there's more of a competitive advantage at those schools versus the NAIA, or do you think they're kind of the same, or you think you get better athletes?
It really depends on the coach and the recruiting process. But you go to some of the, like I say, you go to some of the NAIA schools and you see the kids that you're like, why didn't they go D1? Well, they did go D1. They just didn't cut it over there, or they didn't fit that program, so they transferred into NAIA.
Right. Is the recruiting process more stringent? Is it like is there more rules to how they do it, or
no? NAIA is not restricted by the same rules that the NCAA is. Right now, they all on the same sheet of music because of the coronavirus. But NAIA can contact you year round. You can go visit anytime you want to. Only difference maybe is the recruiting budget.
Right.
Like, I mean, honestly, the NCAA big schools, they have more money.
Right.
But then a lot of big schools have, you can be a D1 program and still not have a recruiting budget of a Power 5 school.
Okay. Now, some of your former players, like I said, mentioned earlier, have played or are currently on the NAIA level and playing. So what is some of the feedback you got as far as the atmosphere of the campus, the gamesmanship atmosphere, and the relationship with their coaches?
The atmosphere of the games, because I go to the games. I mean, like, just because we send them off to college, so I mean we're done with them. We pretty much a lifetime commitment.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere is like, man, the bleachers are almost always full. It's competitive. Their relationship with their coaches, it's just like with us. I mean, the coaches care. They have fall-ins, fall-outs. Coaches sometimes more patient with them than they should be, but that just says what type of person the coaches are.
Right. So, how soon, and now that we know that the scholarship is limited, and the plight of things right now, where coaches can't touch kids directly, they can't be physically near them to recruit them, they can't go into homes, they can't come to campus. Right now, if they had an offer right now from that school and they didn't have anything else, should they wait or should they go ahead and jump on that, and why?
No, they should go ahead and jump on it right now. Like, if you have an offer from a school right now, you should take it. Reason being, we don't know how long the corona thing is going to last. You don't have any offers in your senior year, but you have offers from those schools. The likelihood of somebody else coming is less than 1%.
Right.
Just being honest with you, the recruiting process is like, if you waited all this time hoping for something better, you should have advertised yourself a little bit better.
Right.
And a lot of kids don't advertise themselves because they don't know, the parents don't know. And not knocking club coaches or school coaches, a lot of them don't know. Like you say, when you came on board,
right,
you didn't know there was so much
right.
going on. You just thought you show up and play, college scouts see you, you good.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I follow a lot of coaches on social media, and the biggest thing that they've been pointing out to a lot of kids would go so long without having a college sniff them.
Right.
And in their own words, they say, "I'll go anywhere, I'll do anything, I'll go play." And then they get this school that they've never heard of, but somehow they're showing interest in them, and they whiff on the opportunity, and now they're left with nothing. And they still have these grand dreams that some big school is going to come and rescue them, and now they have no home.
They have no home and about to enter a career.
Right.
A real world career.
Exactly.
And again, that's lack of knowledge. So hopefully by the end of these videos, we can help them out.
Okay. And we will link some descriptions in there as far as the NAIA website. We'll list some schools that we're familiar with. Not necessarily mean that you have to go with it, but it's some schools that we're familiar with that have had a great track record with some of the kids that we've been able to point in their direction and actually flourish on that level. I'm telling you right now, do not sleep on NAIA level. There are some great athletes who at one time had D1 aspirations or maybe were a part of a D1 program and made the switch because it's just a better fit for them, maybe academically and for their playing style with their coach.
And emotionally. I'm going to go ahead and say this at the beginning of the video. When these schools offer out there, and again, I've been doing this 16 years, a lot of parents would go with, well, I want you to go here because this is the bigger name and this, that, and the other. And they're trying to impress their friends. Well, your kid go there, hate it there,
right.
Not in the transfer portal. Or they just quit sports altogether. That's not what you want to do. You have to, when you talk to these coaches, you really have to be honest with yourself about your kid's mental state and your kid's emotional state. That's another reason a lot of kids transfer, because they get there and then coaches require more of them than what they're used to.
Right.
So they want to quit.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I've seen kids, not from our program, because we have a low transfer rate, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I've seen kids in this area go 3-4 schools. You think you can do what you did in high school and college, that's those coaches' livelihood.
Right.
So what they're not going to do is get fired behind you
right.
on purpose.
So, and like you mentioned earlier, there's two levels. There's a Division I and a Division II. Generally, I've seen on the Division II level that they have a JV program too, because there's a lot of influx of kids that are coming in. So what would you recommend to a athlete that's getting an offer from them, but they're saying, hey, that first year we want you to come in and participate on our JV squad to develop. Would you do that, or would you say red shirt?
I would say go with the JV squad. One, because you're playing. Two, you're acclimating to college. And a lot of times, if a coach comes at you for the JV spot, they really want you, but they don't have any slots open for you this year. So that means they're reloading their team for next year. But guess what? You have a whole year and head start on somebody that's coming in.
Right.
Now it's up to you to develop and put the work in once you get there. Or the other option, go JUCO.
Right, which we'll get into a little bit. Now, being the master recruiter you are, big things coming soon. Give me 3 things you give. Okay, you're going into a living room, or you're making that phone call, and you're building that relationship with that kid that's on the teeter-tot level of what they should do. How would you sell the program to them going forward, and how they fit into what you're trying to bring them into?
What I'm going to do is, I'm in their living room. We're talking, because if I come to your living room, that means we've talked. I've seen you play a few times.
Right.
Now I'm just trying to get a feel for where your mindset is. But what I'm going to tell you is, it's a great opportunity for you to play right away. You're going to compete for your spot. If you're smart enough to adapt to the scheme that's being ran, then you get playing time. If you still need some work, but you're not there yet,
right,
we still going to bring you in. We still want to bring you in, develop you. We're going to be upfront with you.
Right.
we're going to develop you this year.
Right.
So, and then emotionally, like a lot of people really miss that part, the emotional part of developing, building bonds, letting you know like mom and dad's not going to be there.
Right.
We're the next thing on the college level. We're the next thing closest to your mom and dad.
Right.
So if you're throwing temper tantrums at home and your relationship with your parents not that great, for legitimate reasons, I mean there are special cases in every situation, then this is where you want to come.
Right. Now, is NAIA more recruited in more of their region or backyard, or can you find that fit across country?
You can find that fit across country. Matter of fact, I know NAIA schools in Texas that talk to kids from all across, from California to New York to Florida to Georgia, even Minnesota.
Right.
I'm not downplaying you, Minnesota. If you're watching, I'm not downplaying. I'm just saying, like, that's here in Texas.
Right.
And how they find out about them is the coaching networks, through the JUCO system, through club coaches, through social media, especially now.
And we'll be sure to put a link in the description from our previous video that where we talk about how to recruit yourself, how to market yourself, and get yourself out there, because a lot of these coaches in these smaller schools may not have the big budget to come check you out all the time, but you can reach them and let them know you're interested as much, and that way you get on their radar, and then now you guys can start that open line of communication.
And that's the other thing with NAIA schools, they're 9 times out of 10 going to call you back, as long as they're not in season, even if they are in season, but they're going to call you back a lot faster. So you're going to know where you're going a lot sooner.
Okay. Talk about, you've had one school in particular, before we move on to the NCAA, you had one school in particular that you really sent a lot of players to and had a good relationship with the coach. Talk about Paul Quinn in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, Paul Quinn. When Coach Anderson took over, because she's married now, she got the job at the last minute. She inherited that program with the players that was there, and she got out of those players what you didn't think she would be able to get out of.
Right.
She loved her players like they her kids. I mean, she get on them, she hard on them, she has an expectation. So I was like, man, if she doing this in her first year, let's see what she gonna do in the second year when she get to pick the players she wants.
Right.
Second year, they go to the national championship. But again, she gets out of her players what they put in, and she's very demanding. When you step between them lines, it's nothing personal. Right. It's all business. Outside them lines, you can go to her, tell her your whole roof is falling in. She gonna help, try and find a way to help you prop the roof up.
Right.
Other thing I like about Paul Quinn is they have a work program where you're interning with corporate America.
Okay.
So when you leave Paul Quinn, you've already networked and you have corporate world experience.
Right.
That's a bonus. I know this sounds like a recruiting video for Paul Quinn, but it's not.
Just a question.
It's a question, but NAIA schools have work programs like that. But Paul Quinn is kind of unique in that situation. And I'm talking about major corporate America. So,
right.
And it's a HBCU.
Well, moving along from the NAIA onto the big elephant in the room, which is the NCAA. And we want to give a little backstory on it before we actually get into it, and give a context of meaning of what they were before they turned into this big corporation. Okay. So NCAA basically was founded in 1906, and it didn't start out like it is now. It really started out to really help the amateur athletes. There was a lot of slick things going on from gambling to pressure on athletes, amateur athletes that is, to perform for these people in this certain era to kind of control what they did. So they kind of came in, they wanted to be a governing body to exert rules, protect the amateur athlete, the game, and now we have this large conglomerate, which is the NCAA, which generates billions and billions of dollars each year for all these sporting events that we watch on TV. So kind of touch on your thoughts on the NCAA, and over the years, have you seen how it's kind of just turned into what it's turned into? And then we'll get into it.
Okay, first of all, I want to let everybody know there are other conferences outside the Power 5 conferences that are NCAA D1.
Right.
Everybody's stuck on Power 5.
Power 6.
Power 6. Okay. The whole thing is, well, we only see 5 each year in the playoffs, so it don't even matter.
Yeah.
It's a business. And by being a business, people want their kids to be part of the business.
Right.
Not understanding, they have dreams of their daughters going overseas to playing WNBA, their sons playing NBA, NFL, Major League Soccer, professional softball. There is professional softball.
Yes.
And professional baseball. But what you're not understanding is only 1% of them go.
Yeah, and that's
So you're wasting a scholarship. When you're talking about D1, everybody says, "Oh, it's a D1, it's a full ride." There's no such thing as a full ride. You're working for it. You're, like I said, you're putting in 80 hours a week, with, again, study hall, film sessions, individual position, strength and conditioning, community commitments, travel, media. They have an obligation. And yes, that scholarship covers their academics and for the ones that getting a full scholarship. But the ones that on partial and stuff like that, you still got to come up with money.
Right.
But the whole thing is student athlete. So they're there for academics. You go there 4 years and you have a basket weaving, you have a basket weaving
Right.
degree. You just wasted 4 years of money.
Right.
So when you send your sons and daughters off to these D1s, make sure they're there for the degree. It's not about you. It's not about, I bred this one, I bred that one. Your whole thing is looking out for the student athlete.
Right.
And we're not the first coaches to say this. We're not going to be the last to say this. But parents, if you're watching the videos, coaches, if you're watching the video, pay attention to what they offering your child.
Right. Now everyone has this grand design, like I said earlier, of being a part of a big D1 school. And I'm gonna name some of the power conferences. We got the SEC, we got the Big 12, we got the ACC, we got the Pac-12, we got the Big 10 and the Big East. Now the Big East kind of, it's kind of falling off, so we really look at those other 5. And then when we break down the scholarship allotments for these schools, there's only 13 scholarships for the girls' side for basketball, as we're talking here, and 15 for the 15 for the girls' side, 13 for the boys' side. So you got to think about, not only are you going to be able to get one of those scholarships when someone graduates, but you got to think about all the walk-ons that's trying to get on there. It is a very competitive way to try to get and play and be seen. So,
and we're not knocking D1. We just want you to understand fully, it is a business. When you have coaches making millions of dollars to coach a college team,
right?
You best understand they not there for the whining. They not there. Either you can produce or you can't produce. That's how you really have to look at it.
Yes. So there's 3 levels on the NCAA that you can actually compete at, which we've just mentioned. Division I, which is your top tier. They even break that down into, like we just said, there's Power 5, and then you have your lower level D1s, which would fall in like the Western Athletic Conference,
the
SWAC, AAC, your Conference USA, which still are D1, they're competitive. But what separates them is maybe their athletic department isn't generating millions and millions of dollars above what these Power 5
let's call it. They don't have TV contracts, or they don't have major network contracts. The Power 5 that he named, they have TV contracts.
All the resources.
So yeah, they're gonna make money.
Right. So all your top flight athletes that they're recruiting, and they're over recruiting.
Correct.
Your 4 stars, your 5 stars. They're trying to get those bodies in because they do know that the better the athlete, the better the product on the court or the field, which is going to generate more interest, more dollars, more revenue. So you got to understand, like you said, this is a business more than it is about your future.
Correct.
So when you're looking at this here, you got Division I, we have Division II, which then starts to lower the size of the athletic program and the size of revenue that they're generating each year. So it lowers that, and that means there's less scholarship money to give out.
Right.
And then you have Division III, which does not provide any athletic scholarships, but does provide you with academic. And generally with the Division III, they're private institutions, so normally they're pretty financially set. But we'll get into that, how you can get that money.
Right. So with the D2, what is 312 members schools?
Mm-hmm.
But the way their scholarships work, they do offer full scholarships, but the majority of their scholarships are broken up into partials.
Yes.
So what a partial is, they can give you anywhere from a quarter, actually not even a quarter, they can give you anywhere from $100 scholarship to cover the full tuition.
Yes.
It just depends on the caliber athlete that they're covering. But with D2s, also, there's a lot of academic money there as
Yes.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas they give you a partial, if you're a brainiac in school,
Right.
then your academic money will cover the rest.
Right.
Because again, it's student athlete. People say that all the time, it's student athlete because they think it sounds good. But if you're not enforcing that student part, you're shortchanging your athletes.
Right, right. And you have to be cognizant of what's going to be best for you. Another tidbit, if you're playing D1 and you're going to a Ivy League school, so such as Harvard, Brown, Penn, those schools don't actually offer any athletic scholarship. But if you're smart enough to get in that school, more than likely you're getting a full academic scholarship. So you have to kind of do your research and understand that not every D1 is the same.
And I'm gonna say this: if an Ivy League school come knocking at your door for your son or daughter, and a Power 5 school coming, common sense says Ivy League.
Yes.
Or the military academies.
Right.
What you don't know, military academies, I think it's like $350,000 to attend a military academy for 4 years. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If it's all about setting your kid up for success in the future.
Yes, because they're gonna learn a trade within their degree program, and they're guaranteed a job once they get done. And that's what we want. We want to turn professionals into the professional world. Only a small minute of they were going to play professionally, even at a high level.
Even at a high level.
So you got to have some type of fallback or some type of plan in place that you're going to go in and attack this with the best idea of getting the best job and the best career to be able to set yourself up for future dealings.
So college is basically for networking.
Yes. Now, have we? I can't remember, but do I know what players have we gone on to Division II, and what feedback have gotten from them? It's been a while.
Yeah, the D2 players, I mean, like, they like it because the campuses, the student population there is generally like 10,000 or less.
Right.
So they still have that family feel. They're not lost in the mix. Classes, they talk more about the classes and the teachers
Right.
in the class than they do the athletic stuff, because the athletic stuff comes easy for them.
Right.
So they like it. They don't feel lost in the mix or anything like that, and they still getting to compete at a high level.
Okay. Now going back to D1, and like I said, everyone has that aspiration. Talk about just how good you have to be, one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, explain when do you get on that radar of that recruiting coach for that particular position or sport?
D1 is very competitive. A lot of times, if you're that top tier player, by the 10th grade for sure, because there's very few people that just explode after their 10th grade year, like in height wise or skill wise or whatever. It's very few, but it happens. By 10th grade, they're communicating with somebody in your circle.
Right.
By 11th grade, they're communicating with you. By the end of your junior year, you already know your offers are there. You know what fits you, what don't fit you, because you're either taking your 5 official visits or your unofficial visits, and you got a feel for where you really want to go.
Right.
But everybody's not D1. you 5'2.5", and you think you're going D1, that's an anomaly. It happens, but it's an anomaly. You got to be some type of special.
Right.
Also the mental aspect of D1. You're doing, you're there with your teammates and stuff like that, but it's a different type of animal there.
Right.
So yeah, it's just one of them things where you have to be special. I'm not selling that Lil Junebug ain't special, Lil Sally ain't special, but it's just a different mindset. It's a different mental toughness. They're not there to baby you.
Right.
You going in with the mindset it's a business. And I've talked to D1 athletes that said if they had to go through a recruiting process again, they would choose D2, D3, or NAIA. They wouldn't go, knowing what they know now, they wouldn't go into where they went.
And speaking of D3, I look at D3 as more of a great development tool. And it's not just for the sports as well. It's for the transition from going from high school into the college world and being on your own. The campus is smaller, a little more intimate. The classroom is a little bit smaller, more intimate. The level of competition, the pressure's not there to play immediately.
Correct.
So you get the time to actually learn the ins and outs of what it is that your sport needs you to do when you get there. Case in point, I'll give my little story. I knew I would never play Division I sports. High school, I'm 5'9", 160 pounds, running 4.5 40, but I was smart enough to understand the sport I played, which was football. I understood defenses. I understood what coaches needed, and I knew what I needed to do. And when my opportunity came to get recruited by a Division III school, I took it because nobody else was coming. So you just have to take the best of your opportunities. And it was a great learning experience for me because you get there, and I'm 17. I hadn't even turned 18 yet. And there's guys on the team that have families. There's some guys that's there that's 25, 26. There's some guys that's been there and they're bigger, and it's easy to get intimidated. So imagine yourself trying to do the same thing going to a Division I school where these athletes are humongous and just elite. You have to kind of know where your level is. Now, it doesn't mean that later on, once you develop, that you can't move up. But you kind of got to know where you're at.
Well, we're going to talk about the UMHB right here in our backyard.
Yes.
There are a lot of D1 players that transfer from D1 to D3. And they go on for the ones, some of the ones that were looking for NFL careers or NBA careers. They actually go from D3 to those into those professions.
Right.
That's another thing that's a misconception too. It's like D3 players are smaller. No, they're 6'5", 6'6" dudes running around there.
Boys out there. I found that out first game.
Right. And they hit just as hard as D1.
Yes.
So it's just where you at.
Yeah, it was all about fit. I can tell you that the recruiting process is a little bit different because they don't have the big glitz and glam to woo you in, but it's all about people and how they treat you and the vibe that you get when you get there. And once he said, it's about how you fit in. You can't just fit in with a name. You got to fit in for what's going to be your longevity.
Right.
So now moving along, so we're still sticking with the NCAA, but we also have the junior college level. And I hate, this is what grinds my gears. I'm probably going to zoom in on my face again.
Story time.
Stop the music. And this is the problem that we have around here a lot of Central Texas.
Not just Central Texas. Across the country.
Across the country. But we see it in our own backyard where kids and parents look down on the junior college level. And they haven't really done their research because there's a lot of kids there that aren't there because they didn't qualify. Let's get that stigma out of there. A lot of them are there because they need to develop. 2, yes, they may need to get their grades up and get better and so they can move on. Or it was just what their level of play was at that point. And you can't discount any opportunity you get. you have to take everything at face value, do your research, and go with it. And no one says you have to stay there forever. You can get there, develop 1 year, and then you move on to the next thing. You have to see what you're building, your stepping stones are in order to get to where you want to be.
And the other thing about JUCO, a lot of times it's very competitive.
Oh yeah.
And with the way recruiting going now, a lot of players are choosing to go JUCO because they don't want to sit out for 2 years. And the other thing is, the 4-year schools are starting to recruit from JUCO. The reason they're starting to recruit from JUCO is the same reason you just named. They're developed now. They understand the grind. They understand, like, hey, I don't have to sell this kid as hard because this kid is looking for the next opportunity anyway.
Right.
To play at the next level, or to continue their education at a 4-year school, and they end up coming out a lot better, and at the 4-year level, the production doesn't drop. Mm-hmm. So, and then there are 3 levels to JUCO as well. There's D1, D2, D3.
Yes.
And all 3 levels are competitive.
Yes. And there are over 59,000 students and counting in JUCO programs and 500 schools. So, man, you got to think there's tons of schools that for the bounce back kid, which meaning they went and played D1, maybe something happened, or they played at another school and they need to go back down a level to either get their grades right or just get their overall. They may have a bad reputation. They got to go fix that reputation as a player because something happened at the school where they just wasn't a fit with the coach or the team, and it just ended bad, or they just want a breath of fresh air and they want to make that change. So you have to find what's going to be best for you to help your future go along.
Well, you just look at the transfer portal, men and women. I mean, that thing is
ballooning.
Yeah, it's like huge. And that happens because people choose the wrong school for the wrong reason. So again, JUCO is a great way to go. It just gives you more time to grow up.
Right.
And then no coach is not playing with you.
Right.
At all. If they recruit you, they want you. They also bring you in to do a job because, again, recruiting is part of coach's livelihood.
Right.
Honestly, if they recruit wrong, then they go home.
Right.
So who wants to get fired because they chose wrong?
Right. So when players get there, and when should they take the advice to redshirt? What's going to be their advantage when they get there to that school?
If they go into a 4-year and coach come to you and tell you they want to redshirt you, go ahead and take the redshirt. There's no discussion. There's no, okay, I want to quit, I want to go home, because they've already made up in their mind. 9 times out of 10, they redshirt you because they're like, okay, we're not going to play you this year, save a year eligibility. Basically, you're not where you need to be. So take the redshirt.
What is the percentage in your head, just throw out a number, of people that actually get to pick their major when they go to one of these big schools, like you mentioned earlier?
To one of the major D1s?
Yeah.
Major D1s?
Major D1s.
I'm going to say 20%.
And that's a high number.
And that's a high number. And if you want to know how I know, inbox me, I'll tell you. But most of those kids are either in communication majors, sports management, sports medicine, sports trainer. But a lot of these kids go there with the idea they want to be engineers, they want to be nurses, they want to be lawyers, but the schedules don't allow it. It just doesn't allow it.
So basically they get pigeonholed into what the school needs and not what the player wants and needs.
Correct.
So once again, you got to go back and really do your research. And
it ain't just research. It's parents. You want to brag. My kid got recruited to such and such, such and such, such and such. You want to brag, and then you make your kid suck it up when they're miserable because your ego is on the line, not the kid's ego on the line. Yeah, it's a little subject that's near and dear to my heart. Stop screwing your kids over and really really pay attention to it. Because a lot of times these kids want to go to these big schools and they don't even know what system the coach runs. They don't even know the coach's name. They just know, oh, it's a D1, D1, D1. Right now, there's a couple kids in the area, and they talking about they want to go D1 or they waiting on this, and I'm trying to help them, but it's like, listen, you waiting on D1, your work ethic is on D1, your commitment is on D1, your sleep effort is D1, your nutrition is D1. You know,
Right.
D1 couch, the one on the couch holding out, but yeah.
I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, with Division III players, I see more with them that they're more system kids. So
Yes.
and they may not be the most athletic.
Some schools, yeah.
They may not be the most athletically gifted kids, but they're very
Fundamentally sound.
very
Discipline.
smart, disciplined. How does that help them when they reach the school that they choose?
Well, like you said earlier, they're willing to wait. They're patient. They're learning the ins and outs of what the coach wants, how the coach wants it done, when he or she wants it done. The other advantage of D3 schools that a lot of people don't understand, there's a lot of old money, a lot of old connections to D3 schools. You play your cards right. You coming out with a job.
Right.
You coming out with knowing how to do what you want to do. We're talking both on and off the court right now. With the D3 schools, it benefits them because they're not street balling.
Right.
So they're a little bit brighter. They're gonna produce right away.
So talk about this notion that these scholarships that these D1 athletes get are guaranteed for all 4 years. Talk about the reality of that.
The reality of it is scholarships are renewable every year. At the end of the year, coaches call the players in. They have exit interviews. They tell you right then and there, we're gonna bring you back. We're not gonna bring you back. Do you need help finding another school? And they move on to the next. They are 1-year contracts. 1-year contract. They're not 4 years guaranteed. Anybody tell you, oh, I'm gonna get you a 4-year full ride? They're lying to you. 1 year.
1 year. So, do you think players should be able to leave and go to schools if they're not a fit without being penalized? Just like coaches can change schools like they want to, they should have one free time. What do you think about that?
I feel like they should. It's like you were saying about the NCAA came in to protect kids from this, that, and the other, but really, it's the NCAA that's pimping the kids now.
Yeah.
You're making money off their likeness. You're making money off their, and I know they come now where they can give stipends and stuff like that. But sports betting go on these kids.
Right.
Schools benefit. The schools get big sports contracts because of the kids. So what they came in to do is the same thing. And again, this is opinion based, but factual at the same time. So yeah, I think they should be able to move without being penalized, which was part of the reason that the NCAA came in, because back in the day, kids could play for Arkansas. I'm just using Arkansas as an example. And then they mess around and go play for Oklahoma, which would never happen because they used to be in the same conference, but they hated each other. It's a good rivalry school. But I just use that as the example. They get mad, leave Arkansas, and be like, you know what, middle of the season, I'm going to play for Oklahoma. Well, who does that?
Right. Now, with some of the different levels from the NCAA, NAIA, and JUCO, I know there's limits to the times that the coaches can actually spend with their players. So you look at Division I, where they have so many hours a week that they can deal with them, opposed to with NAIA or these other schools, they may have more development time with their assistant coaches. So talk about that. Talk about how that path will ultimately help a kid better and not getting left behind in a big school and then in more development down here.
Well, with the bigger schools, like you said, they're limited as to how much time they can put in. So are the D2, D3, D3, NAIAs, but
Right.
they develop so much. Like we have a player that we sent straight out of high school. You look at her now, you're like, man, she's a monster.
Correct.
But that's because the assistant coaches and the coaches get to put more time
Right.
in developing. That helps with their confidence. That helps with and confidence is a huge thing. So once they leave school and they go into the corporate world or entrepreneurship or whatever they're going to do, they've learned the patience that it takes to grow things.
Right.
Whereas D1, and not all D1, but the major D1s, they don't have time to develop you. Either you get it the first go around or you don't.
Right.
And they will release you at the end of the school year if you can't.
Man, cold world.
It's business.
Okay, so wrapping this all up and putting this all together, if someone, and we have that now, say you got a young gal or a young guy in 8th grade right now, and they're trending, and you can see that they're going to have a great maturation where they can possibly play on those levels. What are some advice are you giving to some parents right now to actually prep them to see the different options that are available to them?
Really look at them all. No, look at all the options on the table, because if you're telling me that your child wants to be a neurosurgeon, well, there's a D3 which is going to be the best fit for them. There's a D3 out of Louisiana who has 98% placement rate in medical school. Right? Because they have a pre-med program. But you're like, well, they want to go to Baylor. Okay. Well, you want to go to Baylor, but how many pre-med basketball players have you seen in Baylor? And again, I'm just using these as an example. Or they want to go to UT, right?
Right.
So
no business majors, no School of Red McCombs guys I see on there. Anyway, so
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, but let's say Harvard's hitting you up.
Right.
Well, guess what? Harvard's going to let you do what you want to do.
Right.
As long as you can maintain your academic commitment.
Right.
So that's how we lay it out there. It's all about what your kid really wants to do and what you're saying they want to do. Because sometimes, let's say parents have a kid that's a superstar. Box of rocks, but everybody keep passing the box of rocks along.
Right.
Now they get to college and they go there and, they some kind of way they come out of qualifier and they go D1.
Right.
Well, look at how many D1 athletes walking around us.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yes.
And they're working, doing whatever it is they doing. They have a degree, but it's in basket weaving.
Right.
Well, you just wasted $80,000 to $100,000.
Yes.
To play 4 years of a sport that you would have played for free anyways, which basically you did. Now you're going back to school or you're going to a trade school to get something different.
Right.
So what did you do with 4 years of your life? You had fun, you played.
Didn't have no debt coming out of school.
Didn't have any debt, but then you created debt.
Right.
Because you have a worthless degree.
Right.
And that's the main thing that I tell parents, like, especially when they hit the 11th and 12th grade, you're like, what do you really want them to do? What do they want to do? I heard you tell me what your kid want to do, but your kid's telling me something different than what you want. You want them to be a neurosurgeon, and they want to be a welder.
Right.
Well, welders make pretty good.
Yes, and they're always working.
And they always working. So that's the other thing that I tell them when they're getting ready to pick schools. Like, talk with your kid. You've been giving them your expectations since they were little.
Right.
So they're gonna be afraid to tell you, no, I don't want to do this. They may grow up and be like, get to the end of their high school career and be like, I don't want to play college ball. I've actually had players do that, but I don't know how to tell my mom and dad that. You just like you told me.
Right.
So it's a lot that goes into it.
Yes.
Because you don't want to waste your coach's time. Your kid get there and they really don't want to be there.
Right.
So now you just took somebody else's spot and you just wasted coach's time. Coach could have been on their last leg.
Yeah, right.
And now you just helped coach get fired.
Right. Well, you guys heard it from Coach. You heard it from the different bit of information that we've given you. It's a whole lot more to the scheme. However, we want to just give you a broad scope so that way you can have a starting point where you can go out and do your own research, understand the process, and make the best decision for you and your family in putting your child in the best position to be successful once playing college sports and once they're done playing college sports.
And really the whole point is once they get done playing college sports. I hear a lot of parents say, I want my kid to be better off than I was. I want them to have the opportunity that I didn't have. It's not just having the opportunity, it's making the most of the opportunity.
Right.
Make sure you do that when you going through all these. Your kid got a little bit of talent, got a drop of talent. That coach got to turn into a puddle of talent once they get to the next level. Make sure you set them up for success.
Okay. Well, that concludes our segment today. I want to thank you once again for sitting down and giving us your time by viewing our information that we're putting out to you. Once again, like I said, this is just our opinion. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, let YouTube know you like these type of videos so we can continue to make them.
And share the video.
Yes.
Don't be selfish. And then give us your feedback. I don't care if you like me or not. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, put it down in the comment box. Our information, as always, will be linked down below, as well as some information on NCAA, NAIA, some schools that we dealt with personally, and want to pass that benefit off to you. So once again, this is Two Coaches, One Conversation. I'm Coach Sheldon.
And I'm Coach Will.
And we out.